Thank you for joining us for this Fox 43 archive special about the storm of the century, the blizzard of '96. What was originally supposed to be just a couple of days of snowfall combined with rain weeks later turned into years of headaches for south central Pennsylvanians. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking with several folks around south central Pennsylvania about their impacts during the storm, and you will see plenty of faces from Fox 43 as well. First, we'll start off with just as the snow was falling.
The official WHP Weather Center forecast.
It's a busy day for WHP radio hosts Dennis Edwards and Melanie Apple. They're passing on cancellations and updated storm information. They work the hardest when the weather is at its worst.
Our business is to keep people informed of what's going on, and it's the most spontaneous thing. People are depending on the radio on a day like today, so I almost feel some excitement about it.
When we open up the phones, people call us. They're usually giving advice to other people. I've been out there, and here's what you should stay away from, and don't go out if you don't have to.
Maria Super is the only waitress on duty at this Eaton Park. The booths are fairly empty, but she does have a few customers.
I don't like it. I wish I was at home instead of here, but gotta make money.
Some of those customers were glad Maria's restaurant was open for dinner tonight.
We basically stranded at the hotel next door. Very few restaurants of any kind or any kind of business is opened at all. In fact, we had to walk over here.
And at this convenience store, folks are streaming in for the essentials.
Groceries. Yeah. Bread, milk.
Cashier Pat Kent has a pretty good attitude about working during a blizzard.
Listen, I'm 61 years old. I've been working in this kind of weather for years. So, you know, and this is no weather. I'm from Chicago.
Jackie Wettig and her neighbor are wearing a path back and forth across the street with their snow shovels. The goal is to uncover a few cars, avoid getting frustrated by the weather.
My first thought is it's, really beautiful, it's nice, but when it gets this magnitude, it's just a pain in the butt. You get a little stressed because, you have to get to work eventually. And
when you have to start shoveling this is murder. This is murder on your back. You just have to take it easy. And then we're going to go in and have some cappuccino after a while, and it'll be okay.
Mike Krompaski and his dad have been at it for hours, and they're not getting too far. Is this your car?
Somewhere. There's an antenna. I think that's mine. It's a Mustang under there. So once I do get it out, I don't know that it's going anywhere. We'll see.
It's obvious that the folks along this block have decided it's just pointless to try and dig out their cars. They have a pretty good point. Take a look. I'm standing in the middle of the street. Those that are brave have different strategies. Some fight from higher ground, others take the direct approach.
whichever has the least amount of snow and is easiest to start with, and then we just work our way around.
No matter the method, the folks we talked to were taking the blizzard of '96 in stride.
Well, it would be bad if I had somewhere to go. I mean, I wouldn't want to be out traveling in it, but, again, this neighborhood, everybody just gets together, and, it's not bad being snowed in.
In Harrisburg, Jeff Donaldson, Fox 43 News at 10.
Take a walk through the food court at the farm show and you'll see lots of folks happily chowing down.
What made you guys come on out today in the middle of the snow after 3 days of being locked up?
The baked potatoes.
But the baked potato loving public hasn't been able to get to the farm show. Since the storm hit, the court's been nearly empty. That is until today, and vendors say the crowd's been half of what it should be.
It's been a disaster.
Farm associations rely on this event to raise money for promotion and for research. But this year, they're going to be lucky to break even.
We're not going to break even, so we figure we'll have to borrow money, several $1,000s to meet our expenses.
Saturday, the apple growers' sales topped $8,000. That dropped to nothing on Sunday. They think they'll meet their expenses, but that sure doesn't leave much cash for their research projects.
It's pretty important because state funding is getting reduced all the time, so we have to help support our own industry the best we can.
It's a sticky situation for the beekeepers, too.
Our sales right now are 1/3 of normal.
And vendors have only tomorrow to make up for lost dough.
There you go, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I knew when I joined the post office that I had to take the 70-degree sunny and 70 along with the 30-inch snow. This is my job.
Mail carrier Greg Kreiser has a pretty good attitude about Mother Nature's recent temper tantrum. His job is already strenuous.
I have to carry probably between 20 and 30 pounds on my back. I have to carry it for maybe 5 hours.
Now imagine doing that while negotiating icy walks and huge snow drifts. Kreiser knows many of his customers are relying on him to deliver something important.
I'm expecting my last check from my last job and to pay the mortgage this month. It's running a little late.
If your mailbox is blocked off by snow, your carrier needs your help. Put out a temporary mailbox like this one. It's a cardboard box, but it says U.S. Mail on it, and it has the address.
Just the word mail prominently will usually do it for us. The carriers know where the people live. We just can't get to the mailboxes.
Bleacher says employees are catching up on the sorting. Now the delivery trucks are getting the mail to the post office on time. Carriers are already preparing for the next storm, which will hit later this week.
Frustrated now, you just keep moving. You just keep moving, you just keep moving. And the faster you move, the lighter your weight gets and the faster you'll get done.
In Lancaster County, Jeff Donaldson, Fox 43 News at 10.
If we get a substantial snowfall, we will have to shut the city down. We have no other choice.
Some New York City streets have yet to be cleared. Another snowstorm could paralyze the city.
We're very concerned because if it goes to another foot, it'll be a very difficult situation to plow any more snow on the streets.
While everyone tries to dig out, York City's plan is to declare another snow emergency.
We've seen what we've done the last 3 or 4 days, that we can have traffic move and move fairly well, and we need their cooperation.
The mayor encourages city residents to park in the parking garages overnight. The cost is free at nighttime and allows plow operators to clear the streets. If you don't move your car, the city may do it for you. The city is towing cars so front-end loaders can maneuver down narrow streets to clear snow. Rich Hinkle and his neighbors have to park in this lot. With another storm on the way, they're still waiting to park on their street. What do you want the city to do?
Basically open Philadelphia Street so we can park, or open this up so we can park better.
But Hinkle and his neighbors will have to wait a little longer. The city is still removing snow, and it's a job that'll take much longer if we get some more of the white stuff. In York, Lenora Adams, Fox 43 News at 10.
As the snow ended, many thought the worst was over, not knowing the rain that would come weeks later. Now let's turn to businesses simply digging out and life getting back to normal.
They came by foot to Lancaster Central Market. You didn't mind trudging through the snow?
Yeah, I fell twice on the way up here, crossing the street. But it was easy. I just sat down.
A driving ban only allows essential vehicles on Lancaster City roads. The ban is in effect until 6 Monday morning.
And I know it's a hardship on some of the city businesses as well as city residents, but we have to maximize the National Guard and our contract workers and our own city crews.
Comes to 85 cents, sir.
So many city residents are flocking to the market for homegrown fruits and vegetables.
I'm just doing my grocery shopping here because I couldn't go to groceries since I couldn't drive there.
The plain or the tomato?
During any snowstorm, bread is a hot commodity. Rick's French bread stand was selling out of buttermilk blizzard loaves like snowblowers. One customer found an alternative.
Yes, bagels instead of bread.
You can buy everything from pickle relish and pasta here at the market, but there's one thing you can't get, and that's milk. Despite the lines, Paul Heckenberger, owner of Paul's Seafood, says today's turnout is light.
We had a good day yesterday when it was snowing. A lot of people from the city bought a lot of fish, but today it's been a lot slower.
The driving ban is also determining how much some customers buy to carry home.
I can't get too much, but enough to get me through the weekend.
In Lancaster, Lenora Adams, Fox 43 News at 10.
One more time, one more time.
Members of Emmanuel Church of God join hands in song on the street outside their place of worship. It's the only place they can come together. Snow came crashing through the rafters here, leveling their house of prayer.
When this happened, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what to think. I just asked God, I said, what is happening?
It's a feeling of like disbelief. You know, it's as if you've lost a loved one. So it's kind of, you know, I'm sure we'll go through the stages of grieving, you know.
Yet, Father, we realize, oh God, that we are the sanctuary of God.
Members hope to gather strength from coming together amongst the rubble.
We all comfort each other as we're doing here. We come and we pray and we believe the Lord. We know that, you know, we believe certain promises in the Bible.
As parishioners look at the concrete blocks that litter the ground now, they say they're just glad they canceled choir practice for yesterday. It would have been going on about the time this building came tumbling down.
It just could have been a day of mourning. Coffins could have been lined up, you know, and families could have been just at loss.
Now these parishioners say their task is to move beyond this destruction and think about the future.
I think tragedies always bring people together, and we often show our best in the face of adversity, and so that's what we look for.
In York, Jeff Donaldson, Fox 43 News at 10.
But this is front-wheel drive, too. No, rear-wheel drive.
Mike Treffin wants to rearm himself as he does battle with winter. That's why he's pricing four-wheel drive vehicles like the Jeep Cherokee.
It'll take you anywhere you want to go. I drove one last week, a neighbor of mine, in the snow, and it went anywhere you wanted to go.
Treffin isn't looking at Jeeps solely for his own driving security. He's thinking about his wife, too.
I worry about her when she's out, and I want her to have a good vehicle.
Treffin isn't alone. The more snow that piles up, the better business is here.
We've had an awful lot of people coming in Saturday as soon as they could get out of their driveway with the idea in mind that, hey, I don't want to go through this again. I want to get something that's going to go in the snow.
Problem is, people like Treffin might have to dig deeper. Chrysler announced today it is raising the price on the base Jeep Cherokee by $100. The price for a Grand Cherokee goes up by as much as $300. Once the sticker price goes up, that means one of two things. Either the dealership has to eat the cost by passing on some kind of savings, or the cost gets passed on to the customer.
People that you were working with who were, the payments were close to what they wanted or didn't want, this just raises the payment if they're a payment buyer, or cash if it's a cash buyer, and obviously has a tendency sometimes to slow down sales.
He's $7,000. Now we're talking.
But not everyone is worried about the price increase. Some say a 4x4 is equal to peace of mind when the snow falls.
This is just added security and more ruggedness.
In Cumberland County, Jeff Donaldson, Fox 43 News at 10.
All I'm saying is if you're looking for a utility vehicle today, this is the #1 nameplate, the #1 selling utility.
I have a snow blower sitting here that I use throughout the snowstorm. And when I come out about 8 o'clock, the blower was gone, just disappeared.
Last night, Joe Fry's snowblower was swiped from his own driveway on Clearfield Street in Swatara Township. He was sitting inside, but not even the dog heard anything. It's really shaken Joe, too, because he says this is a safe neighborhood where the neighbors all look out for each other.
Well, I feel kind of invaded now, unsafe. Never had to lock the doors or lock anything up or chain anything down.
But this isn't the only place a snowblower's been stolen. In the past week, 7 others have been stolen in Swatara Township alone.
Good morning, Swatara Township Police.
Police hear stories like Joe's whenever we have a big storm, but never this many. Apparently, desperate times lead to desperate measures.
When you're counting on that piece of equipment to deal with the kind of snow that we have outside today, that puts a whole different spin on it. It becomes a lot more personal.
Personal to Joe and all the neighbors he's been able to help out with that blower, because now they're back to the old shovel.
New Cumberland Borough highway crews use front loaders to open up clogged storm drains. Dump truck drivers make continuous rounds hauling away the snow. Even the borough's police force is involved. This job has to be finished as soon as possible.
If we wait until it rains, it'll be too late. By the time we get around to it, the streets will all be flooded. There won't be any way for the water to get off.
In fact, puddles from melted snow are already forming near the intersections.
I anticipate that if we get the rain that is forecast, that people who have never experienced water in their basements are going to see flooding from surface water.
This house has been underwater all the way to the top floor.
Barbara Stevens lives on Market Street, 1 block away from the Yellow Breeches Creek and the Susquehanna River. She's no stranger to flooding.
These are books I really don't want to lose, but I've moved them up to the 3rd, just on what people from experience had said that, you know, how high the water would come.
They're saying trade in a shovel for waders.
How do you feel knowing that? How do you feel today?
You know, I'm a little worried. You know, it's staying cold, so I'm hoping the best.
And so are these borough crews. They're doing the best they can to prevent basement flooding. Officials say once the water seeps in, there's nothing they can do.
Because there's nowhere for us to pump it that it won't come right back in.
As folks dug out, temperatures started to warm. Melting, though, could cause its own problems. Combined with rains and a storm to the north, a storm of our own was brewing in south central Pennsylvania in what would end up becoming one of the costliest disasters in central PA history.
To 6-Liner-23, contact Reading approach 125.15.
Operators working inside the control tower at HIA have had a busy night. Flight schedules keep changing because of dense, thick fog causing poor visibility.
It's been an hour or more since anybody's been here.
Inside the terminal, passengers line up near the ticket counters trying to rebook canceled flights. Tracy Roadcap and her 15-month-old son Cody sat on a plane at the end of a runway for 7 hours earlier today.
When they finally brought us back to the gate, they said they weren't sure whether they're going to cancel our flight or not, if it was officially canceled or not, but we could at least get off the plane and walk around the terminal for a little bit. And then they finally did say that our flight was canceled.
Many passengers wait for rides. Others hit the phones to find overnight lodging. Deb Reisinger and her son passed the time with crayons and a coloring book. Deb has a 4-hour wait for her husband, whose flight was delayed.
I just will be glad when he gets home, when he gets here.
We begin in the sky over Harrisburg, flying over Cameron Street, where you can see water covers the street and has swamped several businesses. Nearby, the State Farm Show complex is also surrounded by floodwater. Ironically, inside the building, dozens of boats as part of the Auto and Boat Show. Passing over Front Street, you can clearly see how far the river has pushed its way onto land. Homes are flooded and ice jams Front Street. The governor's mansion does not escape the water. The governor spent last night at a state police barracks and the rest of the First family with friends. The swollen river rushes through the gap in the Walnut Street walking bridge. The water and ice snapped the footbridge yesterday, sending it downriver. Tonight, portions of the mangled bridge remain trapped against the Market Street Bridge. City Island remains above the water, but not completely. Much is covered, and as you might expect, there is damage to pavilions and buildings on the island. Flying back to the east shore of the river, the Shipoke area of Harrisburg is devastated. The river is flowing through homes and apartments. You can really see the depth at the Interstate 83 ramp at Front Street. Heading downriver, 3 Mile Island stands above the water. No problems here. But a bit further south, homeowners in Wrightsville, York County have left their homes just in time to watch the river move in. And right across the raging river in Columbia, Lancaster County, the scene is pretty much the same. Water and ice and mud fill homes, businesses, and streets.
And all of a sudden, another rush of water came in. That was up to my knees. So I couldn't save anything.
Shirley Woodham can't believe it's all gone.
The photographs of my brother. I've only got one brother now, and my friends, you know. And I couldn't even get my Bible.
She and others in Long Level hold back tears as they examine their ruined homes. The water rose fast and furious, spilling 6 or 7 feet deep into the street. Many escaped with only the clothes on their backs.
We have hundreds of homes. We may have road structural damage. We've got a bridge structural damage.
The destruction is astounding.
Total with my home and the Long Level Marina, I probably took $1 million in damage.
This is just one example of the river's tremendous power. When the water crashed over its banks, it brought with it tons and tons of ice and other heavy debris. And while the water has receded for now, it has still paralyzed many people.
In my home, for example, took an iceberg right through the glass windows in the front.
These folks are used to a little flooding here and there, but all this water, the ice and the refreezing, is the worst.
If you don't recover from one of these things in a week's time, this is going to be an ongoing, long process.
I've cried enough tears to cause another flood, I think.
It's a pain.
A gymnasium filled with Army cots has turned into a home for 104 Harrisburg residents. It's an emergency shelter for people flooded out of their houses and apartments.
What choice do we have? You cannot stay in the apartment when they cut the heat off and they cut the electricity off and even shut the water off, I believe.
I'm on the 6th floor. People on the 1st floor are devastated. I've heard that it's 6 feet on the 1st floor.
80 streets in the Harrisburg area are underwater, in many places impassable. Some cars try to move through the walls of water.
The last 2 weeks in this city and region have been an extraordinary period of time, virtually unprecedented.
The mayor says this flood will cost the city tens of millions of dollars. Many business owners are already watching their livelihoods disappear.
It frustrates you enough that you can really just shut the doors and get out of the business.
And those forced out of their homes figure this weekend will be a long and difficult one.
Well, I'm probably going to sit here all night long. I can't go outside, that's for sure.
That flooding, certainly made worse by the snowfall of just a couple of weeks prior, brought devastation across South Central Pennsylvania like many had never seen before. Certainly not since Hurricane Agnes back in 1972, a quarter of a century prior, and unlike anything we've seen in the 3 decades since. South Central Pennsylvania would recover, but it would take state and federal aid to do so.
At times the going is a bit rough, but Senators Rick Santorum and Arlen Specter tour the flood-damaged areas of Harrisburg. The senators are hoping to use this information to get as much federal aid as possible for flood victims.
When I have seen what is here, and in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and Pittsburgh, it's tougher than what I'd expected.
Governor Tom Ridge and James Lee Witt of the Federal Emergency Management Agency met and watched videotapes of the flooding and recent blizzard.
When you're dealing with individuals and communities who have suffered loss through no fault of their own, through a natural disaster, I believe that you err on the side of the victim.
They emerged from a meeting saying they wanted to work as partners to help flood victims. Witt says FEMA is moving as quickly as it can on Mr. Ridge's request that individual disaster aid be extended to 58 counties and to governments for flood costs.
The President wants to make sure we cut as much red tape and bureaucracy as we can, and I can promise you we will do everything we can to make that happen.
Mr. Ridge says he will not apologize for blasting federal officials for not responding to his initial requests. The governor declined to fire back at White House Press Secretary Mike McCurry, who said Ridge was in a public relations contest.
I don't want to talk to him about me. I want to talk to these gentlemen about Pennsylvanians.
Front-end loaders scoop up chunks of icy water on Market Street in New Cumberland. Officials say this community suffered the most residential damage out of all the West Shore communities.
Well, it's a mess. It's what I expected.
Sherry Ziegler checks the pool of water in her basement. It's about 4 feet deep, but the damage is visible on her first floor. Water squishes out of her carpets, and her brand new kitchen tile is covered in red clay.
Where do you even start? I don't really know. It's get everything dried up and get shovels in, get the ice out, and rip everything up and go from there.
Good evening, sir. Where do you need to go?
National Guardsmen check the identification of drivers in cars and trucks. This area is restricted to residents only. These barricades will stay up at 3rd and Market Street, and the National Guard will be on duty overnight into tomorrow. They plan to keep an eye on any residents who want to stay overnight. But officials caution residents not to rush back into flood-ravaged homes.
For the time being, they shouldn't rush into their homes. They should go in, clean up, get rid of the mud, check everything very, very thoroughly, stay where they've been, and keep coming back to that home until things are back to normal.
For these residents, back to normal can't come too soon. In New Cumberland, Cindy McGrath, Fox 43 News at 10.
They had about 30 inspectors, and they hope by tomorrow to have about 100 in the field.
Federal emergency management teams trudge through soggy, icy New Cumberland, visiting flood-worn homes. All week, they've seen muddy living rooms and watermarks.
Looks like from the water line on the door there, you must have had a substantial amount of water in the house here.
Janine Smith is one of 8,000 who's applied for federal disaster aid. Her house is ruined. The kitchen hit especially hard. She must replace everything.
Stove, refrigerator, all the bottom cabinets, the floor, at least one wall.
This first floor is pretty bad, but at least the kitchen appliances and the structural damage are covered under flood insurance. But there's still a lot more that isn't covered. Just take a look at this. Just the dryer, the washer, the gas heater, and the deep freeze will total at least $5,000.
Let me just get a measurement on that.
Smith's flood insurance does not cover contents. She's hoping a federal check will help. So far, FEMA's mailed out 11.
The average check was about $3,800.
It may not sound like a lot, but FEMA must divide among thousands of victims.
We do try to get the house back to being habitable.
Which for Smith and thousands more will take quite some time. Susan Schrack, Fox 43 News at 10.
From the air, you can see how floodwaters took a huge bite out of the Walnut Street Bridge.
Significant damage.
Today, some people from Washington surveyed the damage up close. It's similar to devastation they've seen in other parts of the country.
Earthquake in California, flooding along the coast. And this is just the kind of challenge that we have to work together in partnership to address.
Washington could pick up 75% of the repair cost for the bridge, with the state picking up the rest.
Walking is transportation too.
And there are folks who walk on this bridge every day, and for who their personal mobility, this bridge is every bit as important to them as the fellow who drives his car on yet another bridge.
Harrisburg Mayor Stephen Reed says he's glad to hear the federal and state governments will combine to help rebuild this bridge. He says it's more than just a footpath. It holds some historical significance. This pedestrian bridge never buckled during the Agnes floods. This winter, ice made the difference.
The Walnut Street Bridge collapse is literally related to the force of ice building up underneath and against the bridge and its pier, and that's what pushed it down.
And Reed says once the Walnut Street Bridge is rebuilt, Harrisburg will clearly be on the road to recovery. In Harrisburg, Jeff Donaldson, Fox 43 News at 10.
Long Level Marina.
Dick Heckman cleans up his marina in Long Level. His nearby home is destroyed, but he won't show us where he lives because he's afraid of looters. In fact, he thinks someone was already inside.
Things were disturbed, and it's not secure.
And he says it's hard to tell whether goods were taken by intruders or floodwaters.
And I thought maybe it floated away because the windows are blown out in the front of the house. So some things probably could have floated out.
Water filled the dome's front yard last week. This week, it's an outpouring of kindness.
The neighbors been a big help. We've been helping them. People have been coming down offering help.
But Long Level isn't immune to trouble. Police reports show that during the flooding of 1958 and 1972, there was looting here. What they're trying to do now is prevent history from repeating itself.
And we have been, making a lot of patrols down here. I've been bringing in extra people on the weekends to basically come down here to assist the residents, to patrol, keep an eye out on things.
About 100 Long Level homes are flood damaged. Some are still uninhabitable. But neighbors who are back home promise to stay on alert until all is back in ship shape. In York County, Kristen Fallon, Fox 43 News at 10.
The sounds of customers talking at Catalano's restaurant is replaced by workers tearing the restaurant apart. Last month's raging floodwaters claimed Vince Catalano's 19-year-old family business, but not the family spirit.
We're hoping for a July 96 opening, hopefully, depending on weather, depending on approvals, and depending on FEMA.
So far, the FEMA check hasn't been in the mail yet, but the 3 generations of Catalanos aren't giving up hope.
Whether FEMA comes through or not, we have to go find monies elsewhere. But we're going to find it. We'll get it. We'll rebuild.
Rebuilding will soon begin next door at Angelina's restaurant, too. When the doors reopen, it'll be called Cronies. Even though the water is gone, the problems and the cleanup continues for residents in Shipoke. This is what Shipoke looked like last month. Although the water has been drained out of basements and first floors, sounds of workers cleaning is in the air. But for many residents, it'll be some time before they can return home.
The extent of the damage with the flood and the fire, you just have to settle in and realize it's going to be 9 months to a year until this project's completed.
But they are determined because this is home. Lenora Adams, Fox 43 News at 10.
Now, there were some positive surprises that happened out of the storm. Fox 43's Cindy McGrath caught up with a child born during the blizzard 1 year after.
Little Dylan Yangst is trying out a birthday gift from his grandparents. Early tomorrow morning, he'll be 1 year old. Dylan's mom, Mandy, went into labor during the worst of the blizzard of '96.
She woke me up at 12 o'clock and told me that, and I just said, "You got to be kidding me." I said, you can't be having a baby now. And I looked outside and saw all the snow, and it's like, no, this can't be real.
The first thing I did was send him out on a snowmobile to see if we could possibly get through with our truck, because we do have 4-wheel drive. And he wasn't gone more than 5 minutes, and he came back and he said no way.
This is what the family had to do to get to Lancaster General Hospital. Brad Yinks took this home video as township crews used a front-end loader to open up the road and let the ambulance through.
That was the best sight I ever seen when I looked up the hill and see all them flashing lights.
The Yinks got to the hospital just before 5 a.m. Little Dylan was born at 6:30. The Yinks saved the newspaper articles from Dylan's birthday 1 year ago. They say when he gets old enough, this is how they'll begin to explain everything they went through in the blizzard of '96.
I've thought about it every day, every day that I look at him. And I'd go through it all again. I mean, he was worth it.
In Rathbo Township, Lancaster County, Cindy McGrath, Fox 43 News at 10.
That child, that family, proof of the strength of South Central Pennsylvanians to weather any storm. This has been a Fox 43 Archive special, the storm of the century, the blizzard of '96. I'm Chief Meteorologist Braden Long. Thank you for joining us.